All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to talk about Nico Harrison. Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavericks. And some recent comments that he said in a private meeting with the media on the Luka trade and how he has no regrets. So it was a private, no camera roundtable with select media. I think it was recorded. Now, this is him first on record appearance since the trade. And to look at the exact quotes from this roundtable, what he said. So, to kind of go through it, there's no regrets on the trade. This is from him. Part of my job is to do the best thing for the Mavericks. Not only today, but also in the future. And some of the decisions I'm going to make are going to be unpopular. That's my job, and I have to stand by it. Also addressing the fan base. Well, the beauty of Dallas is it is a passionate fan base. For us to reach our goals, we need that fan base. And to be honest with you, every trade I've made since I've been here has not been regarded as a good trade. And so sometimes it takes time. When I traded for Kyrie, it was met with a lot of skepticism, and it was graded as a terrible trade. And you didn't see it right away. But eventually, everyone agreed that that was a great trade. When I traded for Gafford in Washington again, it was like, oh, he gave up way too much. These guys aren't going to help us. Now, that trade, you saw the evidence a lot sooner. So I think a lot of times, trades take a little bit of time, but our philosophy, like I said, going forward, is defense wins championships, and we're built on defense, and this trade cements us for that. So, when you look at that quote especially, he brings up the Kyrie trade, the Gafford trade, PJ Washington trade, and that's all fine and good. But here's the thing. You traded a top three player in the NBA for Anthony Davis, who's a good player. He's a good player. But, it's a guy that tends to get injured. He got hurt in the first game that he played with the Mavericks. And, he's not in his prime anymore. So, I get it. Now, we never really got to see this team at full strength once they traded Luka, because there was always someone hurt. They got ravaged by injuries. So much so that they almost had to forfeit games. Or potentially forfeit games. So, I will defend him in that respect. But, you traded away one of the best players in the league right now. And the other thing, too, is the Mavericks have lost a lot of money from sponsorships, advertisements, because Luka was a cash cow when it came to revenue. And you traded that away. And we had this discussion in our production meeting as well. Could that potentially lead to Nico Harrison being let go, after the season's over? Because, he's still in the middle of his contract. But, if the Mavericks lose a lot of money, someone's got to be held accountable. He traded away Luka. Now, ownership gave him approval to do so. The new ownership group. But somebody's got to be the fall guy, right? And he's ultimately going to end up being the fall guy. But he caused this. Ownership could have said, no, we don't want to trade our franchise player. They did that. They did it anyways. And Mavericks fans are not going to forget. Now, this is going to continue until he's out of a job. Now, if this team, comes back healthy next year, he's still there, and they have this very good year, they go on and win a championship, all right, well, everybody's going to be quiet then, but that's not going to happen. I don't think this current iteration of the Mavericks is going to get to a championship. I don't think that. The Western Conference is loaded. And I just think ultimately, guys are going to get hurt again. So I don't see it. But to say you have, obviously, he's not going to say, like, we'll talk about someone being more honest in the next segment when we talk about baseball briefly. But, of course, he's going to say he has no regrets. This is someone in the front office talking. He's not going to say, yeah, I regret making that trade. However, I think somewhere inside of him, he does regret it. Because that display that we saw in Dallas when Luka made his return, and you had fans cheering for him every time he touched the ball, and you were hearing fire Nico, fire Nico, fire Nico over and over and over again, especially towards the end of the game. It's a bad look. And on top of that, this team went to the finals last year with Luka and Kyrie. They made it to the finals last year. And you pulled the plug on that. So, of course, fans are going to be upset. This was a guy that was supposed to be the franchise guy. He was going to be the next Dirk Nowitzki. He was going to be there forever. He wasn't going anywhere. At least how we all looked at it, he wasn't going anywhere. And they said, "Nah, we're good. We got issues with, his workout routine and all that, And yeah, I guess that's, you want to see him, be in better shape, but when he's going out and he's dropping 30 points a night, he dropped 31 points in the first half against you in your own arena. What more do you need to... I think he's all right with what he's doing right now. But that's what he decided to do. And he definitely could have gotten more because it's Luka. You could have got more trade. You could have got more assets. But didn't. They decided that the trade they made with the Lakers was the right one. And I don't want to knock Anthony Davis because, again, Anthony Davis is a good player. It's just he cannot stay healthy, and he's an older player now. Like, if you were trading, Luka for prime Anthony Davis, again, like, you would still get not a couple, but you would get eye rolls. You would still get those looks, but again, you'd be trading for another player who's in their prime right now. But he's not. So, and now we'll see what happens tonight. But Maverick season could be over tonight. And if that happens, we'll see. Because them losing money off the court, that could lead to him losing his job. That could put pressure on ownership. Look, you got fans cheering these Fire Nico chants. That's not going to go away unless you do something. Now, I listen, I'm not going to advocate for him to, lose his job, but it does, make ownership have to, weigh their options. I think he's going to stay. But I do think, like, if the Mavericks do end up having this horrible season next year, because I kind of will give them a pass on the injuries. But if they go out next year, they're fully healthy. Kyrie comes back, Anthony Davis, everybody's healthy. Klay Thompson, I haven't mentioned his name, Klay Thompson, and they don't have a good year, then you got to make a decision on what the future is for him. That's how I look at it. I mean, that's the thing. They brought in Klay Thompson to be that third option. And then all of a sudden, yeah, they just traded Luka. Just, I don't know. But they wanted to be more of a defensive team. But, we'll see what happens tonight. I'm curious to see what they end up doing tonight. But what do you guys think about what Nico Harrison had to say? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our next break. And then when we come back, we'll talk baseball. We're going to talk about Juan Soto, talking about how he's being approached this year at the plate by opposing pitchers and why, it's caused a bit of a controversy. And I'll talk about whether it's a big deal or not. We'll get into that when we come back from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.